You can get a lot of XP and loot by building yourself a gunner farm in Fallout 4, and in this video I will show you a really basic gunner farm just to give you an idea and to get you started. Hi, I'm Mo and I'm trapped in Fallout. So to build yourself a gunner farm, the first thing I would suggest is you find a settlement, preferably with 0 settlers. So you don't want any settlers, no one in this farm. And the reason is, if you have any people in the farm, every time a fight breaks out, these settlers will come and try and help you, and that can sort of lure the enemies away from you. So preferably find a settlement that has no one in it. Once you've done that, what you want to do is find an area that has relatively flat land. Now you don't have to have the whole thing flat. I'm particularly using the settlement in Spectacle Island, so this is not flat land. We're going to sort of build the land ourselves, so to speak. But just find a large enough area to be able to build a lot of stuff in. From here, what I'm going to do is go to structures, wood, and then floors. And from here, we're going to go ahead and start building a floor. So I'm going to use shack foundations. And what I'm going to do is go build a floor that is 4 by 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go 4 across. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you need to do is just go ahead and complete this floor. Now, once the floor is complete, we're going to go ahead and build the walls. And in terms of the walls, what we're really going to do is only build 2 sides of the walls, not all 4 sides. And I'll explain that why in a moment. So to build the walls, what we're going to do is go down, back to structures, wood, and then from here, so we're going to go to structures, warehouse, and from here, we're going to look for walls. And we're going to build these walls that are sort of significantly higher. Again, I'll explain why higher in a moment, but let's just go ahead and build the walls on both sides. So on this side, we're going to build all 4. And on the other side, what we want to do is actually build just 2 of the walls. So what we're going to do is just remove this for a moment and build 1 wall over there. And then do the same here, just remove this and build a wall over there. And let's go ahead and put the foundations right back in. Once you put the foundations back in, from here, what we want to do is build a door over here. Now, there is really one door that we want, which is sort of like a warehouse door. So again, whilst being in the warehouse area, what you want to do is go to doors. From here, what you want to do is search for the rolling metal door. So go ahead and put that in between the 2 walls. And what this will do is simply open up, sort of revealing the stuff inside. So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and actually build a switch for this door. So again, just go out. And from here, what we want to do is really quickly go into power. And from power, let's go to switches and go ahead and put down a switch. So that should be this here. So this is a switch to power pylon. Go ahead and put that down somewhere. So I just put it down over there, and go ahead and put down a generator also. And then go ahead and connect the switch to the power generator, and then connect the switch itself to the wall. And what you will notice is now the door will open. So exit settlement mode or build mode and go ahead and just turn it off, just to make sure you know what it sort of works like. So now we have a working door. Again, go ahead and open it. So from here, we are now going to start building our gunner cages. So this is actually pretty simple. What you will need to do is go into your cages, go into medium cages, and go ahead and build the gunner cages. Now, when you're building these cages, don't build them from the left side, build them from the right side. So go to the right side of a wall, and from here start placing them down, and use these foundations as guides as to where to place them. So as you can see, this is sort of about in the center of the foundation on the bottom. So just go ahead and build it that way, and try and center each one in the foundation. So if you recall, we didn't put any walls on this side. And the reason we didn't put any walls on this side is because these cages will act as the wall. So anything that sort of spawns inside these cages will not be able to go on the other side, because the cages themselves act as walls. So again, go ahead and repeat it on the same side. So, or rather the other side. So this time again, remember, we want to start from the right, not from the left. The reason why we want to start from the right and not from the left is because as we put these cages down, so if I sort of put down this cage, if I now put down the next one, notice this one is sort of bleeding into the platform next to it. So ideally, if we start from the right hand side, it's a lot more easier to place them. So there you go. This one's perfectly fitting on the platform. So is that one, and so is that one, and so on. So now with the cages down, what we want to do is connect them all with some power lines. Again, just quickly connect them up this way. And what we'll need to do is, once we've connected that, at some point we'll also need to sort of build a switch to be able to control them, but we can do that later. Now, the reason why we built those long walls is because when you put down a cage, you actually can't put down a ceiling item above the cages unless if the wall is high enough. So if we put down, say, these walls, these normal walls instead, then the power lines would have actually collided with the top of this wall, and that is why we need to put down sort of these large warehouse walls instead. So with that done, we can now put down some floors. So we can put down one right over there. Again, let's just go ahead and do that on both the sides. And once done, we will now need to carry on building the walls on these sides as well. So again, let's just go back into the warehouse option and go back into the walls and start to build these large walls. So what these walls will do would basically prevent any gunners that spawn inside from running away. Now that we've put the floor in, what we can do is build a second level of cages. So we can put down some cages right over there. Again, make sure that you start from the right side and repeat it on both sides. And once you've done that, go ahead and connect all of these up as well. And once you've done that, make sure that they're all connected with power lines also. And make sure that the top floor and the bottom floor are connected to each other also. So what you can do is just take one from the top and connect it to one at the bottom. And with that, every single one of these cages are now connected by power lines through one means or another. Now what we want to do is actually control them using some kind of power. But before we can do that, what we're going to do is also build a platform so we can sort of attack them from the top when they do spawn. So what we're going to do is just go out, and here what we will do, so we left some gap here, we're going to try and actually build a sort of makeshift staircase. So to do this, what we're going to do is go back into structures, go into wood, and from here we're going to select floors, and from here let's go ahead and select the floors here. In fact, before we do that, let's put a floor over here first, and let's start to build the floor over here. So what we're going to do is just do that, and what we should probably also do is build a quick stair here, just so that it makes it a little bit more easier for us to be able to actually get on top of it. So something like that will do for now. So if we go back to the floors, and again, let's just carry on building the stairs. And what we want to do is, for the number of floors you have, you want to go up 2 additional. So I have 2 floors there. Now remember, because they're connected through this here, that means they're all on the same level. They're not sort of misleveled or misaligned. So this is effectively the same as a top floor. So I want to go 2 further up. So that's 1, 2. And the reason we're going 2 up is just so that we have a little bit more leverage when we try and attack them. From here, we're going to build some more floors so we have a little bit of a platform. And from here, what we can do is, so if you have a look, this is what the gunner cages align. So we want to be slightly outside, around here. This way, when we try and sort of fire at the enemies, we can be right here, and we should still be able to sort of see the enemies. So again, just keep on going, building this platform. Again, trying to sort of align yourself with the cages on this side. So that should be enough. Now what we're going to do is also build some walls, primarily just so that we don't fall down accidentally. So, but this is not something you have to do. Again, I'm really making this video just as a quick guide to show you how to go about doing this. Now what you can also do is build walls around, just to make sure that you don't fall off. Now what you can do is go down, and again you can build walls on this side. The whole purpose of building walls on this side is, as you're sort of walking up these stairs, that you don't sort of accidentally get attacked. Now before we do that, what we also want to do is build another power source that also sort of comes from there, that we can control independently of the door. So what we're going to do is go to the power option, and from here we're going to go to switches, and we're going to build a pylon right about here. And from here, what we're going to do is take one power line from there, connect it to this. And again, let's build another one here, and connect this one to that one, and then we're going to hopefully be able to take this all the way down somewhere over here. Right, and now what we can do is go back into the switches again, and this time we're going to go ahead and build another switch. So I suppose we can build it right over here and connect this to a generator also. So that's probably good enough. So we connect the generator to the switch, and we connect this switch to this pylon. Naturally, you can make this look a little bit more nicer, but this will now allow us to actually force power, as you can see, through all of these cages. So now we can see that every single one of these cages now has power running through it. So what we'll do is turn it off. And if we go back in, we will now see that none of the cages now have power. So this is how we're basically going to trigger the cages and then turn them back off. So once a cage is actually connected to any power, if you disconnect the power, then the cage door, it sort of flings the door open. So anything inside will basically come back outside. So we now have our two switches controlling everything. Now what we need to do is just finish building this sort of staircase here. So again, we're going to go into the wall section, and we're just going to try and build the walls, again, mostly for our protection, just to make sure that we don't really get hit. So you may need to go up the stairs to do this. And this part might be a bit tricky, so what we can do is just build a really small platform over here, like so, and bring this over there, just about. And then what we can do is go back and build a wall here. And again, let's just carry on. So now you can see that you will be able to come all the way up to here at least and not really be subject to any of their attacks. Now, the final thing we're going to do is, so if you recall, I did say that you can get a lot of XP and loot. If you're at a low level, you actually may not be able to take out these gunners at all. They might be simply too powerful for you. You just won't be able to. So what you can do is sort of build this platform and build a number of turrets here instead. So what we're going to do is go to defense, go into turrets, and what you want to do is build turrets that are powerable through power lines. So what you don't want to do is build a machine gun turret, because that's basically just going to kill anything it sees at any given time. But if you build yourself something like, well, anything really that requires power, such as, let's say, a shotgun turret, or let's see, a missile turret, that's probably the best one to go for. Let's go ahead and build them. Now, when you build them, do space them out a little bit. So if you build another one right next to it, then you might not be able to sort of have enough space to go in and do anything yourself. So do try and build them a little bit further apart. So again, let's build maybe another one more. Okay, tell you what, let's go with another one more. There you go. So now let's go ahead and connect all of these up. And now let's connect this up to a switch. So what we're going to do is, again, put the switch here, but this time we're going to put the switch around here. So if we put it here, then the enemies won't be able to hit us. So we can sort of switch them on and off using this. And again, you will need to obviously have some generators to do this. So you can either put the generators right behind the turrets themselves, and that should hopefully do it. So I'm just going to build a few really quickly, and hopefully that will be enough. So I just connect it there. And that has enough power for all four of them. So what I can do is they're currently turned on. So if I exit build mode and just turn them off, then they should all power. And in fact, no, they won't power down. I need to actually connect this to the switch. So let me do that really quickly. There you go. So at the moment, they're all powered down. If I turn this on, then they all power up. Turn it back off, they all power down. So you can use this as a means of taking out all the gunners without you actually having to do much of the work yourself, if you happen to be at a low level where you can't take care of them. Right, so that's pretty much everything now done. So we will keep this off for now. We'll go back down, and what we will do is we will turn the power back on to the cages. So if we have a quick look, so currently the power is all turned off. we will turn the power back on. So now if we have a look, we can see the power is now back on every single cage. And then what we'll do is we will leave the door open for now, because what we want to do is just make sure that it sort of generates inside the gunners sort of generate inside the cages. Now the cool thing is with this about, what we can do is just simply go ahead and just sleep in a bed, and once you've sort of slept maybe 2-3 days, this should already start actually generating some gunners. So what you can do is just go ahead and build a bed. So what we'll do is build a standard bed so that we can sleep longer in it. And what you can do is just go ahead and try and sleep for 24 hours, and then we can go and actually check on the cages. Now once you've slept sort of a day or two, if you now go and check, we should have some of the cages filled with gunners now. So if we have a look, we can see that out of our total cages we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 or 10 cages that are now populated with gunners. So this is good. This means it's worked. So what we can do is you can either go back to bed, sleep for a few more days, and wait for every single cage to populate, or you can sort of try and get some quick XP. So what you can do is just close the door, and as soon as the door is closed, you can cut the power to the cages. And then what we can do is go up. So if I just go up really quickly, then if I have a look, the gunners should be sort of over there. Now notice that sometimes they don't actually sort of fall down, they sort of wait in their cage. If that happens, that's usually because there's some platform or because they don't know about you. So what you can do to sort of get them running around is just fire off a single bullet, and they will then sort of start to look for you. Now what you can do is when you have a mass number of gunners like this, ideally what you want to do is use a weapon that can fire a lot of mini nukes. So I have this sort of glitch crafted weapon, which I'll tell you about towards the end of the video, but this particular weapon can fire a lot of nukes very quickly. So if I just fire them up into the sky and wait for it to rain down, then from here you can see that I actually got 500 XP from that. So again, just continue to fire off these into the air and they will rain down, and again at some point they will take out every single gunner. So how do I know all of them are out? Well, if I look at my compass on the south side of my monitor, then I can see that there are no more sort of red blinks anymore. That means I've basically taken them all out. So now if I go back down, so from that I probably got about about between 500 to 600 XP. I can now go and open the door. If I go inside, I can see all the gunners here, and in this case I managed to get XP and basically a good number of loot. And the loot here aren't necessarily just sort of poor loot. We're talking about combat armors, some decent weapons, some decent ammo, and so on. So you can use this trick to basically get a fair amount of XP and a fair amount of loot. Now, before actually trying to repeat this, there's another thing. When you actually open the cages, any cage that was preoccupied and is now open will need to be repaired, otherwise it won't work. So if I look at my cages, so notice that all the cages here, some need to be repaired, the ones that were populated, and some don't. So this one here needs to be repaired, so let's go ahead and repair it. But this one here does not need to be repaired because no gunner was inside it when we first came. So I'm just going to go ahead and repair all the cages. And once all the cages are repaired, all you want to do is go back and switch on the power. And once you've done that, just quickly check to see that they've all got power. And from here, what you can do is just simply go back to bed and go to sleep again. So this time we're going to go to sleep for about 3 days straight. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly skip to that part of the video. Now I've just slept 3 days straight in the game, so I'm going to go and see if any new cages have any new gunners respawned in them. So if I have a look, I can see that some cages now have gunners in them. So you can basically use this trick to basically rinse and repeat. Just go to sleep, come back, and some new cages would respawn gunners. And notice that some of the old gunners are still here. Right, so this time what we're going to do is again close the door, and we're going to go ahead and release the gunners. But this time we won't attack them ourselves. We're going to get our turrets to do the trick for us. So again, just going to go up, and I'm just going to make sure that they've actually generated, and they have. So go ahead, turn this on, and notice that our turrets are now sort of doing the trick for us. And again, just keep an eye on the compass on the south, and that's it. All the reds have now been removed from our compass. That means there's no more enemies. So now just simply go back in. So what we will do is open the door and we'll have a look. And this time we didn't get any XP, but we did get a lot of loot. So there's some stealth boy there, some caps, ammos, again, an assortment of different armor and so on. So you can use something like this, which I don't think took us too long to build, maybe 20 minutes maybe. But as long as you have all the relevant perks, all the relevant kit and resources, you can build something like this with sort of different switches, one to control the door, one to control the cages, one to control the turrets, and you will be able to get XP if your level is high enough. If not, you can just use the turrets to get an amount of items which you can then go to either equip for yourself or sell on for caps. So basically this is a pretty neat farm to get a lot of things relatively quite quickly. Now, before I end the video, just a couple of quick things. When you have a gunner farm like this, because you're caging gunners, that particular settlement would be subject to a lot of random attacks, particularly from gunners. So this is why it's probably best to do this in an empty settlement, because you will get a lot of raids happening locally within that settlement. So if you have something like this, every time you sort of fast travel, you can expect to have a random attack happen on you. So it's a little bit more easier to manage and take care of, especially if you can lure the enemies around here. All you can do is just sort of go up the stairs, turn on the turrets, and then sort of take care of any randomly spawned enemies. Now, with that said, you did see me using this particular gun, which is something that I handcrafted, and this allowed me to take care of the gunners relatively quite quickly. If you're interested in finding out how I made this particular gun, which basically rains down, well, a lot of damage from the heavens, then click on the video you see on the screen now.